Hello everybody, Anomaly here, and welcome back to another video discussing some Mistweaver healing. Now with some brand new content. Yes, we are going to be talking about Heroic Skorpyron this today, the first boss in Nighthold. I think I know originally I said in my last video I was going to start with normal mode and kind of work my way through normal and then into Heroic. Unfortunately, normal mode, at least for my guild, is very, very simple. I think any guild that's killed any sort of mythic bosses, particularly probably up to Cenarius in Emerald Nightmare, and then definitely if you've gotten Odin down, normal mode should be fairly simple. I may go back and do like a quick compilation video, but for the most part, I'm gonna kind of stick to just heroic mode fights and eventually some mythic fights once we start getting those down. Before we jump into Skorpyron, real quick, just quick thoughts on Nighthold. Super fun, lots of interesting boss fights. The first ones aren't as interesting, but I think there's going to be some interesting ones later on. And then, of course, the aesthetics zone looks beautiful. So I'll kind of talk about a little bit of that as we get into the videos. But for the most part, I really like Nighthold so far. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So today we're going to be talking about Heroic Skorpyron, kind of just a two-phase-ish fight. Basically, he has a phase where he does some things, then he goes vulnerable, he do a lot of DPS, and he goes back to kind of that first phase one. So here we go, kind of jumping into the fight. Basically, never stand in front of the boss is kind of the simple piece here. He does like a tank, like, I don't know, attack thing that does some damage. I don't really know what's going on, at least in that one. But then here's the big move, this Focus Blast. You need to kind of dodge out of the way. It's very simple as a monk. I mean, you have Roll, Tiger's Lust, pretty much any sort of movement ability. You can even transcend back and forth. Fairly simple. And for the most part, what you're going to see is that basically he follows kind of a set pattern in that he does a little bit of an AoE explosion, which one of these shards pops off his skin, kind of his exoskeleton. You'll eventually use those to hide behind, but kind of every 10 to 15 seconds, it looks like one of those pop off, does a little bit of raid-wide AoE damage. And then the other thing is that these ads will come in, the Skorpion ads will come in from the outside. You'll notice one is marked with a red X. It's the volatile Scorpion or Scorpid. Basically, that explodes once it dies. So just kind of, again, some more AoE damage. So right there, sorry, I kind of talked through it, but that was his kind of big explosion ability. Basically, every time he gains full energy, he'll kind of explode, do a big knockback that kind of, if you don't hide behind one of the shards, you're going to get knocked back into the ads on the side. You're going to pull more ads and just cause either more DPS needed from your raid or you're going to get somebody killed, basically. But for the most part, this is a very good fight from Mistweaver. You're going to kind of want to use your Mana Tea basically on cooldown. I use Chi basically on cooldown. For the most part, you're just going to, EF spam. Every time one of those little AoE things go out, hit your Essence Font button, and then kind of don't do anything because there's no other damage. So here you go, he's going into the vulnerability phase. You can see by the cast bar on the unit frame. He's basically vulnerable, takes extra damage this entire time. We as a guild, heroism at this point. I think we have our guys pop their pots and everything, kind of do as much damage as we can. There we go, as you can see, the knockback. A bunch of our guys knock back, pulled a bunch of extra ads. Like I said, we've killed, all of Mythic Emerald Nightmare. We've killed Guarm up to in Mythic TOV. So even these first heroic bosses aren't going to be a huge bit of a challenge or issue for any guild that's done at that content. But if you haven't, this can be challenging. So you're definitely going to try and hide behind those kind of little rocks that kind of get placed around. You do get it's either a buff or a debuff. I forget. The weak aura kind of you can see when it pops on my screen. I'll call it out next time to kind of show you that you're safe. But yeah, for the most part, this fight is literally kind of rinse and repeat. You're going to continue to kind of Essence Font when you see the AoE go out. You're going to, so here's a good example, right? It says safe. Basically a debuff, you get your safe when you're hiding behind that. As long as you're safe when the explosion actually hits, you won't get knocked back. You won't take any extra damage. But like I was saying, the kind of fight revolves around some very predictable damage patterns. Every one at a time those spheres come, or pieces of his armor kind of get chunked off. There's a bit of an AoE damage. Essence Font at that point. Every time one of the volatile ads explode, there'll be some AoE damage Essence Font there. You can see there I kind of sniped the Tranquility from our Resto Druid. Yeah, and then just hide when the blast goes out. So it's a pretty straightforward fight. Not too much is going to go on. I'm probably going to skip ahead a little bit here, just to kind of see if there's anything different. I think we get one more exoskeleton phase, um, where he goes vulnerable, and we ended up killing him shortly after that. So for kind of a normal raid, you'll probably end up getting, two vulnerability phases and eventually kill them. So um, that's basically the fight. I mean, ultimately, it's not exactly a hard fight. There's not too much from a difficulty perspective. It's pretty predictable. As you kind of go through it, just don't get knocked back. Keep the ads under control and hit the boss as much as you can. I think, one-shot this on our attempt, pulled it, and he basically fell over. There wasn't too much going on. So definitely, guys. That's all I have to say, right? Super friendly to monks. I mean, you have tons of movement, so you can kind of dash around or roll around. Sorry. So you have tons of movement abilities, and then Essence Font works out really well here, for kind of dodging and kind of moving around mechanics. So I think this fight will be pretty good for Mistweavers moving forward. So before I go, one thing I did want to say is I'll probably try and put out one of these videos, continue to put on these videos once a week. If I can get more than one done a week, I'm definitely going to try and post kind of, at least as we go through Heroic, additional videos, just kind of talking about the fight from Mistweaver perspective. Things like that. I ended up also starting a kind of a little bit of a simple blog, put it up on GitHub, just kind of talking about my experiences and kind of putting in there. So if you guys have any suggestions on things you want to see, any sort of, I was thinking about doing kind of a tips and tricks section, just for kind of specific fights, primarily around Mythic, but probably put some heroic stuff in there too. Just kind of get some more content out there. So if you can, check it out. I'll put a link in the description. Again, check out Monk Discord. I always say this every time. Great great resource for you guys. They put a ton of good information out there, a ton of like easy to follow stuff. Like you'll never, just go in there, ask your questions. It's awesome. They're awesome there. So other than that, thank you very much for listening. This video ran a little bit longer than I expected, but first fight, first time back, super excited about all the new content. So check out my other videos, or look out for my other videos, or check out the other ones on my channel, whatever you want to do. If you're still doing Heroic, or doing some Emerald Nightmare, doing some TOV, got some videos in there for you there. But other than that, you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later.